So, hi, yeah, I'm Justine Jackson-Fraser. My background is clinical science. So, today we're going to discuss emotional responses and using the theory of where individuals can be triggered emotionally due to past stuff that's happened to them or protection mechanisms, and then how that shows up in a normal, more corporate or customer journey space, and what you can do with those to best still aid connection with your client and not let those triggers, if you will, or emotional responses take you off the path that you or the journey that feels safest with you and your client. Generally, if you're asking someone to share, whether it be personal or private information or something that involves emotional expression, anything like that could be upsetting or anxiety creating. So another technique that can work is some kind of form of resistance unplugging. You can put forward that the experience might be anxiety creating, or you can say something like, I know sharing our personal data is difficult these days, given the misuse. So, what could I do to put you at ease in terms of how we're going to use this information? So you could kind of say it and float the anxiety experience beforehand, so almost preempting it for them, so that it's not a cold water shock when you ask them all of a sudden to share. So for me, if you are seeing somebody in front of you have a quite a shift in body language or a shift in tone or a spike in anxiety, which you will know sort of almost on an unconscious level. So your brain and your peripheral vision will be picking up on micro expressions from the other individual, which can tell you immediately if they're having an anxiety or a stress response. And you will know that because you will all of a sudden also feel anxious or stressed. And it's at these moments then not to necessarily ignore them, but to say like, okay, so what's happening? Or is there anything in this process that's not working for you? So that you can address the issue and find a solution for it in that moment. Also, you can use your past experiences. So if you have been part of customer journeys for a long time, and if you've been connecting with that client for a while, you will then know what their normal responses are and what their normal tone is and their normal body language is. And if you find that shifting or becoming quite different in the moment, then you can obviously hone in on that and ask some gentle questions. I wouldn't use words like trauma and triggers. Obviously, it's not a therapeutic space. So just a lighter question like, okay, so what's happening for you? Or is there something that's concerning here? Lighter question. If you can sort of dial down your own emotional stuff. So if you're feeling anxious or stressed or uncomfortable, or you've got massive stuff that you're dealing with, if you can center yourself in the moment and focus on the other person or the client, then you are much more likely to be able to tap into what they're feeling as opposed to being hijacked by your own stuff. So that self-awareness and that willingness to step into the moment is definitely felt intuitively, as consciously and unconsciously, depending on where the individual's at. And that is experienced as a authentic need to connect, and that empathy or that authenticity in the moment is priceless. It's definitely going to be a memorable connection for a client and something that they will consistently refer back to as positive. It's that old adage of you seek first to understand. So if you can imagine what the other person is going through, quickly imagine how you would feel in that scenario and then reflect it at them. So you'd say, like, so I can imagine this must be making you feel anxious, or I can imagine this must be uncomfortable for you, or I can imagine this might be making you feel a little bit weird. So any of those one-liners with an emotion word in it is an empathetic response, which immediately puts the person opposite you in a space of they're validating the fact that I've got the right to feel an emotion. So even if their emotion might be different to the one that you're reflecting at them, the fact that you are now incorporating an emotional response in your communication with them, as well as the fact that you are going there and inviting them to, and then you're validating their emotional experience. And we are all emotional beings. So whether or not we are more sharing or more private, the fact that someone else is validating the fact that we have an emotional world makes us feel connected, understood, safer, all those good things that help customers feel like this is the right journey for me.